Hey, hello, welcome back, Open Pagan Church Talk Show. Hope everyone is doing good. So here's a question for you. And of course, we've got Discord open and with us this morning. Say hello, Discord.
Good morning.
Hello.
From the lovely town of Beaumont, Texas. Good.
Beaumont, Texas. Clint, you're still in Liberty, right?
Yes, sir.
And of course, me, I'm up in Princeton. All right. So, thank you, Cindy, for the topic. The topic this morning is religious apparel. Yes, I know I put in there religion apparel, but there you go.
Start on.
Right. So, let's think about for a moment, all right? Let's think about what different religions wear, the types of apparel that they wear, and let's think about that while we have a word from our sponsor. Hey, Don here with Open Pagan Church and House of Pagans. We could definitely, use a bit of a hand there. You can either go to openpaganchurch.com and click donate, or you can PayPal. My email address is right there to use on PayPal, or on our Open Pagan Church page. There's a little button that says PayPal me. I ain't gonna lie to you, this goes into my account to help us keep the lights on so we can keep this content going. Check out our other pages. We also simulcast on Twitch at the same time. That's twitch.tv/OpenPaganChurch. Well, we hope to see you here, and we hope to see you there, and we hope to see you like, and you see the little flashy thing up there on the left. Click on subscribe. We'll catch you on the flip side. Have a great day. And, well, you gotta love it when you gotta sponsor yourself, right? But, hey, we're always open for sponsors as long as you don't mind open-minded conversation and talk shows that might talk about things that are not always politically correct.
Right.
Not that we would ever come up with anything that's not politically correct, right?
Right.
Right.
To everybody that is doing a video and watching later on anything, the link to the donations of openpaganchurch.com is down right now. And if any donations are do it through PayPal, the link is right there on the webpage.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Cindy. I'm working with Streamlabs right now to get the two different accounts set up correctly. Of course, we have two different accounts with Streamlabs. One of them, of course, for Open Pagan Church, and the other one is for Spastic Simmer. And, of course, for the most part, I try to keep those channels separate. We want everybody to enjoy what Open Pagan Church is about, and then those who are not pagan, we want them to enjoy the Spastic Simmer. So, I am, like I say, working with Streamlabs to try to get that openpaganchurch.com fixed. So we may end up having to change the URL, but there you go.
Right.
So, religious apparel. Well, anybody that doesn't know what apparel is, it's clothing and right. I mean, it's humans, of course, clothing now is nowhere near what clothing was. I mean, back in the day, clothing was originally designed just to protect the body from the elements and keep us warm. But, of course, since mainstream society got a hold of it, certain sects of people, which we're not going to pick on because all of the religions do it. Um, I mean, there are multiple denominations within paganism that have different ritual garb requirements, right?
Right.
Now, in when we would cast up shaman circle, depending on where you were within your rank, you either wore a solid white robe or a solid black robe or a gray robe, in each one of those colors distinguished between where you were in your path. But that was in the Grove of the Celtic Shaman. When we were just doing House of Pagan Circle, we didn't care what you wore as long as PT and A were covered. Unless, of course, we were doing the rare uh, pagan skyclad ritual.
Then there was nothing.
Then there was nothing. Yes, and of course that is actually considered by law religious apparel for some religions, which is nothing. However, in you know in a boatload of countries, you can't have any minors around where there's nudity.
Right.
But how many nude beaches have we been to? And I'm all for it, so don't get me started on that. But, you know, I think kids should be raised to respect their bodies, to respect other people's bodies, you know. For legal reasons, we don't run around naked in front of our daughter, of course. Now, she walks into the bedroom without knocking, well, that's her bad. But what is, I mean, Cindy, this is your topic. What is, and of course, I've Googled religious apparel. What is it to you? I mean, seriously, what made you think of the topic? And I quite like the way you came up with the topic. I'm going to have to do that.
Uh, well, we were trying to figure out what topic we're going to have today because everybody was like, okay, we talked about so many stuff and everything. Repeatedly, it's something like, okay, we need something new. So I typed in pagan topics for chat, and the site, I don't see it anymore. The site said religious repair symbols. Nowadays, you can go around with just, a t-shirt with a symbol on it or a hat symbol on it. Uh, your religion. There's I was looking up, the apparel. I mean, they got all kinds of T-shirts with all kinds of symbols you can think of.
Right.
Um, the one apparel that I wear 24/7, I don't take it off, not even to bathe, is my pinnacle. Pinnacle, yeah, the one.
Pinnacle, yep. And of
Yeah,
course, jewelry. Jewelry is considered along with apparel.
right. This like here's a good quick story. Paul, he has a ring that he wears. Well, he's a heart patient, so he has tests done or he has a procedure done. They say, well, take off all the jewelry. He said, I ain't taking off my apparel. That ring is staying on. You can put a piece of duct tape around it or a piece of tape around it or whatever. And he sometimes has to go round and round with the hospital about it. No, you have to take it off. And he says, no, I don't. And that's when he goes above everybody's head and say, look, I'm not taking this off. So it's a pair that's freedom to wear
Well,
anywhere.
yeah, and but now I kind of, it being raised in medical, and of course I'm going to say this very, very carefully, but I was raised in the medical industry,
Me too.
and X-rays, okay, CTs and MRIs, you don't want
Well,
anything
that's
metal.
he can't have an MRI. But anyway, I understand about that. It's a CT and everything. He has to have his arm above his head
Right.
if he has to have a CT. So that's clear.
Yeah.
No, it's not good to have jewelry on and those machines because it'll throw them off. I've seen an MRI done with medical. They forget to take out metal,
Uh huh.
and it throws off the machine bad enough they have to go get it recalibrated, and that's thousands of dollars.
Well, that and also too, it can become very unhealthy for the patient because when that magnet kicks in and that electromagnetic engages, you can find yourself sucked up against a machine if you
Mm-hmm.
have on a metal necklace or a metal ring.
Yep. Yeah.
But I'm just saying, as far as as long as you're not going in to an electromagnetic area or surgery. Now, if you're going into surgery, you don't want anything on either.
It's
But,
preferred choice. Like you said,
huh?
it's preferred choice of religion and everything with them
Yeah,
keeping it on or not.
yeah, So, but I mean, let's think about, um, let's think about religious apparel here for a
That's
minute.
what I was gonna get. That's what just a quick short. The story I like, and I do too, is about the pinnacle of wearing to out in public or out in schools with my daughter.
Right.
Remember that the story is that my daughter went to Liberty, and her first day there, they got mad at her and told her not to wear her apparel outside her shirt or couldn't wear it. That's when Mr. Maxwell went up to the school and had a good talking to the principal. And next thing you knew, Sabrina was able to wear it out in public. And then lo and behold, a bunch of more students got on board and, came out of the closet
What?
because the apparel was you were able to wear it.
And see, it's like I told the high school. If you're going to have a policy that says no religious artifacts, period, okay, I'm fine with that. That, you know, schools getting an education, getting an education should have nothing to do with your religious ideology, okay? So as long as it's not gaudy, I mean, we live in a society of absolute total extremists, right? We live in a society of an extremism to the point where Asians are beaten going down the road. African Americans are shot simply because they're in the wrong place at the wrong time. Hispanics are arrested and their kids are taken away from them. And a lot of this has to do with the way people dress. Um, I did a workshop some many years ago, um, right after the House of Pagans started, and the pagan fair that I did, I showed up, and yeah, for what it's worth, I used to periodically wear a coat and tie, but I showed up in a full suit. Um, and it was funny as hell, but because of my clothing, people didn't recognize me. And I thought that was funny because of what I was wearing, because of my clothing, they didn't recognize me. And so I excused myself, and of course, the second I started talking and people were listening, they're like, Pegasus? Don? Really? What do you do? You know, it's to make a point. And when I did the speech that evening, I came out on stage with, now this was rather interesting, but I managed to get a coat and tie on, my ritual robe, my lannee, and my kilt all on, right? And when I walked out on the stage in my kilt, everybody was like, oh, cool, you know, got his kilt on. So I started talking about, the clothes people wear and the perception of people and the clothes that they wear. And then I started taking off the kilt. Now, of course, my robe and everything is tucked way up under the kilt. The only thing they can see is my legs.
Woohoo!
Right? And they're like, oh, is he getting, what's he doing? Why is he taking off it? Well, when I dropped my kilt and my robe fell out from under my kilt and I pulled off my tam and my lannee and then put the hood up on my robe and put my belt and my sash on and I kept my hood up and I said, now this is me in ritual garb. This is my ritual garb. You really can't see my face.
Nice.
And then I said, so let's think about the emotions that you have when you saw me in my kilt, which many of you have seen me in. And then you saw me taking off my kilt. Of course, once you figured out I wasn't going to get naked, then, everybody didn't feel they needed to run out the door screaming with their kids. But it's the gut reaction of people's clothing and the way they dress, right? We'll talk about in a minute. But then when I came out of the robe, they just knew I was fixing to get necky on stage and we were fixing to have some problems. Well, I didn't, of course. Underneath that robe, I had on a full suit, coat, and tie. And I said, now, this is the way I do business in the corporate world. This is how I dress when I'm in the corporate world. Then after a few moments of talking, I walked around behind stage real quick and changed into my shorts and tank top and my flip-flops. And I come back out on stage and I said, now, this is me.
Are you comfortable in it?
Huh?
Nothing. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine. So, walking out in shorts and tank top, a couple of people admitted that while I was giving the entire speech in shorts and tank top, they had trouble taking me seriously. So what about that? When I was in kilt and when I was in robe, they were all ears. When I was in the suit, they were a bit taken aback because of the things I was talking about in the pagan philosophy. But then when I put on my shorts and tank top, suddenly they had trouble taking me seriously. Why is that, you think?
because it's considered casual, comfortable stuff, so there was no reason to listen to you.
Well, you actually have a real good point there, Clint, because when when people assume and people do not
Wear that one. Why?
people don't pay attention to the person, but they're too busy paying attention to the jewelry they have on. They're too busy paying attention to the clothing that they're wearing. Um, or they're too busy paying attention to how many tattoos they have or how they wear your hair, how they wear their hair. And Debbie said it straight up. You were too casual. Why listen to someone who isn't taking the subject seriously? And therein really kind of lies the whole problem, doesn't it? Because as a society, and let's carry on with along the same line, the the Christian church, for where I was a deacon for a while, yeah, if you can believe that, the preacher of the church always wore nice blue jeans, cowboy boots, and either a collared polo shirt or a button-down shirt. He never wore a suit. And he had people that stopped going to the church because they felt he was disrespecting God because he wasn't dressed the part before God. Anybody got any comment on that?
Yes.
Can't hear you.
Hang on.
And while you're getting back to the microphone, Debbie sums it up real quick. It's the perception of the audience.
Upside down.
Cindy, what were you going to say?
Yes, I remember that story because there's a church over here. Okay, I went to a Catholic church. And then I went to another church, Methodist. The Methodist church had a preacher that had a T-shirt and blue jeans on.
Yeah.
On Sunday, and he explained it to me because I went in there with a dress and I'm really nice with my friend and everything. He said, "You don't have to dress the part." I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "I'm comfortable just the way I am. The apparel on anybody that wants to come to worship any of our," he said, "any religion shouldn't have to dress up fancy and everything because you're there to learn about it and not appease people's view."
Right. Right. And, you know, a yes, Debbie says, you knew my dad. He was a teacher. He always wore a suit. And though I never saw him actually in a suit, he never left the house, if I remember correctly, while I was there, He never left the house without at least some sort of well-dressed overcoat or something of that nature on. Now, around the house he would wear whatever, but he was raised during the time of you're only taken as seriously as the way you present yourself. Does that make any sense?
Yep, it does. Good evening, Debbie.
And okay, yeah, Debbie says he always wore a suit jacket. But I never saw him walk out of the house with any, anything other than well dressed, honestly. Now, let's continue on that same line. Why is it? Now, I know the preacher of the church that I went to explained it, and I love the way he explained it. And his exact words were, somewhere thereabout, we are a country church. We serve country folk. These folk are hayfield runners, they're farmers, they're ranchers, they're oil field workers, they're welders, they're mechanics, they're country folk who should not feel like they should have to go out and buy a suit to come before God. And it's kind of interesting. Debbie was saying, Debbie saying in chat that she says, and one day a fellow student came up to me and said, that the fact that he was in a suit made math easier to understand. Okay, well, I really can't agree or disagree to that because I suck in mathematics anyway. But it's perception. It's like it was said earlier. It's all down to perception. And when I taught my computer classes, okay, in Beaumont, when I taught my computer classes in Beaumont, I wore blue jeans and a t-shirt, or blue jeans and a polo shirt. And a couple of times when it was really, really hot, like when the AC was out in the building, we had about a month where the AC was out in the building. It was shorts and tank top, And I noticed that the students that I had, granted, the heat didn't help, but they seemed to have a subconscious idea that because Don was not dressed the way Don is normally dressed, that they couldn't understand. And Debbie said many, many years ago, when she went to church, you were neatly dressed. Yeah. And different, okay, here we go with different strokes for different folks, but different churches serve different areas, and it's also, to me anyway, It should be more about the reason
Yes.
more than the apparel, I guess you could say. That make any sense?
Yes.
And I'm going to flip over to my left monitor here. Well, maybe not.
What you need. Debbie asked
Well,
why be respectful. Well, on that point when she was talking about being respectful, I asked why. Because you can do what is an old saying,
They're respectful.
if they you respect them because of one, your karma, and two, you can always do it. What is it? Attract, keep everybody calm.
well,
Treat everybody the way you want to be treated.
Yeah.
very true. Very true.
I mean, I've came up in the store. I've had my pinnacle out. This is in the past, not recently. And some guy said, "Oh, you're a devil worshiper. You did it. You have that sign on. You're just." I said, "Sir, do you know what sign that is? Do you know what it represents?" And if I kept my voice calm and collective, they have no chance to react to it.
And you make an absolute perfect point. Okay? When we're talking about and I'm trying to do some changes on the fly here because some of the settings didn't save. I apologize.
That's okay. You can keep going.
When we're trying to make a good impression, okay? When we're trying to what?
Make an impression of that we're an earth-based religion that doesn't go spastic or doesn't, push our stuff onto people. They're saying, "Oh, it's a way of how can that person?" I talked to that one preacher who told me, you don't act like a normal pagan. I'm like, what do you mean?
How does a normal pagan act?
Yeah, that's what
What's
I
a
asked him. I
normal
said, "What's a
pagan?"
normal pagan to you?" He said, "Well, the pagans I talk to and everything, they try and just shove their religion down your throat."
Then they're not pagan.
And I said,
Right.
"I don't know who that was, but that's not my belief." And I said, "I'm very calm. It agitates me when some of the churches that I've gone to have gone and, like say that our religion is, bad and we're heathens and I told him, I said, "No, we can sit here and talk. You want to go get coffee?" I told him, I said, "You want to go get a drink? Go get coffee, go get lunch. Let's just have a good conversation. We can bounce our religions back and forth on each other." He says, "That sounds like a good idea. Just give me a call someday and we'll sit down at a lunch appointment."
Right. And it's like Debbie said, at the core is religious apparel not a way of identifying fellow worshipers? Yes, and
Oh, go
in
ahead.
fact, it is. Hey, Emily, I'm glad you could join us.
Emily, hey girl.
Right, right. Emily says, she says, I've gotten the comments. I love your Star of David, and I never know what to say other than thank you. I don't want to embarrass them, and I get it. I was always taught choose your battles. Okay.
Well, that's like Emily. I told her like I did. They said, "I love your Star of David." I said, "Excuse me, it's not the Star of David. That is Jewish faith. I am a earth-based religion pagan, this is my symbol.
Well,
And
and
some,
see, therein lies, there's a time and place for everything. And, Debbie says, I refuse to be identified that way, and I get it, you know. But if we, like, for example, if we look at the picture that I have up on the left monitor at the moment, my camera out of the way here. There are just a very few of some of the religious garb that you will see people wear. And when I use the term garb, I do not use it disrespectfully. We've called ritual garb, Ren Fair garb, drumming garb. Garb is the outfit, or how you're dressed, right? And I, you know, I've heard a lot of people put down the Muslim religion because, and I don't know if you can see my mouse hovering over the garb of the Muslim, but when I've talked to people, they're more concerned with not being able to see the person's face because they're taught that if you can't see a person's face, then the person is up to no good. And I truly disagree with that. So, then if we look to the right to the next garb, that appears to be monk or Buddhist or something of that nature. But still, case come to point. When we're looking at, the different aspects, right? Let's take a look at the Jewish rabbi, of Orthodox Jew that's up on the picture right now. Jews are one of the most persecuted religions on the planet, and I have never understood that. And then, the picture that I have up on the screen right now, I see absolutely nothing wrong with that. In fact, call me weird if you like, but I find it intriguing that all of the focus on Muslim women and many other religions that follow the same the same philosophy, the only thing you can see is their eyes, nothing else. No hair, no body. You can see their hands. Sometimes you can see their feet, but there are some religious sects of Muslim that you cannot even see their toes or their feet. She's like, the Jews have been, all the way back to the Middle Ages, they were the money lenders and held sway over so many lives, but to persecute a specific religion strictly because of what they wear. And if we look at the picture that's up on the screen right now, let's see if I can pull this up and blow it up a little bit, because it really does lay forward a point that, and trying to get this over where people can see it. Um, it really does lay forward a point that the face mask that these ladies are wearing have absolutely nothing to do with their religion and everything to do with keeping themselves safe during the time of a pandemic. Now,
I didn't say it loud enough.
what I find absolutely disrespectful is, well, it's like Debbie said, it says everything about base human behavior.
Got that right.
Anything different to what someone else classes as normal gets attacked. And yes, how many times have we discussed that sitting in circle, that because you're different than me, then you are beneath me. Now, it doesn't take but a couple of people in a room full of people to start that nonsense, to basically incite a riot, more or less. But we are in the wrong damn window. Hell, I don't even know what button I'm clicking on nowadays. Well, I've got 2 profiles I'm logging into now on Streamlabs, so I'm still trying to get shit set up. But, okay, in today's day and time, in 2021, we are in the middle of the year 2021, and people are still ridiculed because they want to wear face masks when they go out in public. Okay, so knock yourself out. In certain areas of public, I'm going to wear a face mask, and if you don't like it, you can go hump a tree if you like. Make sure it's full of ants and has a hole in it. And it's much like when I used to do, or well, if you guys will remember, when we did gatherings when we lived down south, especially on Sundays, when we would do open pagan church, House of Pagans gatherings and circle and church and what have you. Anybody that's ever lived down south and understands the heat and humidity down there, it's not a far stone's throw to understand why everybody was in as little of clothes as possible. I mean, we were all clothed, but all of us had on, shorts and tank tops, or, as little of clothes as possible, because hell, it'd be 98 degrees with a humidity of 100. Our daughter to accept and respect people for the knowledge and the information that they have, the way they present themselves, right? And to not, do not judge a book by its cover. I mean, if I show up to a meeting and my beard is long but trimmed, as it is, and what hair I have left is long. This is the purpose why this is the reason I left it in a ponytail this morning today. Well, this morning. There are a number of times that I have gone for a job interview of a job that I really knew I really didn't want to begin with, but I wanted to test the outcome to see what would happen. The first interview, I'd go in with a dress jacket, nice slacks, nice shirt, my hair pulled back, and, beard all trimmed. And I would make it through the first interview with no problem. Over 35 years in the computer business, first interview was no problem. Second interview, however, if it was a job I had already made up my mind I really didn't want, either because of the attitude of management or because of the attitude of the company, what have you, I went to that interview in a polo shirt, blue jeans, and my hair down, and I'm still the same person, but that interview lasted about 90 seconds because the split second I walked in the door, the hiring manager already made up their mind.
You're a long-haired hippie.
Right. Right.
Morning, Lester.
Morning.
And Debbie's having internet problems. So how is the Lester?
Awake.
Oh, wait. So, does it really matter? And this is going to be a very loaded question. Does it really matter what you wear in public if you want to be taken seriously?
Yes. Because of society's rules, stigmas. Yeah, it does make it important how you dress.
You're right. Absolutely. So, let's think about. Say again. Ah.
Sandy says hi, Don.
Oh, hey, hi, Sandy.
Hi.
How you doing?
He just woke up too.
Ah, got it.
She was asking me how long I had been up.
Ah.
Right.
Well, it's like Debbie says. If you want to be taken seriously, then yes. So, with that being said, if you look at if you can see the picture on the monitor as soon as the stream catches up, the picture that I have up what is the first thought that comes to mind when you look at that picture?
A lot of different apparel.
Hang on, let me get it up here bigger where we can see it. What's the first thing comes to mind?
Tibetan.
All right.
All males.
Okay. All right. All right.
very red.
Very red, right?
Monastic.
Well, if you look at it and you think, okay, you know they're Tibetan because of the red.
And, well, no, they're Tibetan.
I'll be right back.
The style and the fact that their head is shaved. That is a Tibetan tradition.
Well, it's also
Buddhist.
but several Asian traditions. What about the picture that's on the screen now? What's the first thing that comes to mind?
It's not necessarily Muslim.
Well, one to me right now, I'm looking at it. If there is, it's a religion that the ladies have to keep their face covered, and they're using the covert mask to do that.
Muslims, according to my research, did not wear and did not need face masks because the garb in which they wear the material was thick enough to protect their face anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them did wear regular cotton face mask or medical face mask underneath their, and I forgot what that headdress is called, but the headdress that covers the face. Huh?
Haji.
Right, what you said.
It's like ha, jeep, haji.
Bless you. But anyway, I'm not going to bother trying to pronounce it because I know I can't. And on the other picture, Debbie said, first thing came to her mind was trainee monks on the way for daily begging. Okay, I get that. But the caption of this one, these are Indonesian folk, and school uniform religions were issued in 2014. Says state schools are now banned from imposing a religious dress code on students. And I think, now this is just me personally, and of course we all know, we all know what opinions are like, but I believe, just for me personally, that if you're going to go to school to get an education, shorts and a tank top should not stop you from getting an education. Now, before certain of you take my head off, let me explain. I do not believe that a bikini is conducive to being able to pay attention while getting an education, for boys or for girls, either way. I don't think boys should wear Speedos to school to get an education because, well, we're human beings. It's going to be distracting. If young girls wear a bikini to school, they may as well go in their panties and bra because that's all a bikini is.
Works for me.
Right? Well, yeah. But still, case come to point. If you're trying to pay attention to get an education, I don't personally feel like an individual should be required to do anything but to dress according. Now, here's where we get into the debate. To dress accordingly for the situation in which you are presenting yourself. Damn, I can't believe nobody jumped on that one.
Sorry, it broke up. What did you say?
I just got back.
What?
Please, sir.
Okay. I believe, now here comes the point of debate, that an individual should be dressed in accordance to the location, situation that they're going to.
Well, yeah, that I agree on, because if we're going to a location, say we're going to another person's circle, you need to dress apparel that is required to be at that place.
Does that not require people to communicate and ask questions?
Yes. If I'm going to go to another person's circle, I'm going to call them up or email them or something and say, okay, what is your dress code for this? Can I go in t-shirt, shorts? Do I need to be in garb?
Now, where you had that family training before you ever met me, before you ever met any of us, though, knowing you and Clint as I do, both of you had that raising of dressing accordingly for the situation and location you're going to.
Oh yeah, my daddy was in the Navy. I'll admit to that. And
Okay,
you
all
were
right.
just
Well,
you better dress accordingly to the family, because you're representing someone, or you if you dress accordingly, you're representing yourself.
right,
And that
right.
that lies in the problem right now, because nowadays nobody raises their kids to dress appropriately. They just let them dress whatever they want.
Now, Clint, let me ask you a question. And here is the question that I've been asking since we started the broadcast. What is appropriate? Cindy answered it a while ago. What is appropriate? And while you're thinking about that, poor Debbie, bless her heart, the first time she come over to Texas, she almost ended up in the hospital.
Yeah, because Scotland over there, you dress warm because it's the summers are different. What is it?
Well,
We're in summer, she's in winter.
hot, no. Hot to them is anything above 75 to 80 degrees.
Oh, bless her heart, and she probably come in Texas with 100-degree weather.
She came to Texas, it was 98 to 99 to 100 degrees and a humidity of taking a shower. But let's, bingo. It depends on what you're walking into. Now,
You beat me to the punch.
huh?
That she beat me to the punch. You got to look at the situation that you're going into to know what kind of apparel or dress or whatever that you need to do at the time.
Right.
Yeah, you
Ask.
gotta watch.
It's like Cindy said, ask.
Communication. That's what's wrong with the world today. Not enough communications.
Right. Right. And each year that our daughter has attended school, we contact the school once the list comes out for supplies. And one of the questions we ask, has there been any changes to the dress code? Because when Kaya first started in this school district, she was in elementary school. Little dresses could not be above the knee, and they could not wear short shorts. Totally agree. Um, Debbie says totally. Communication is a four-letter word, man. People don't want to use it. And the thing that we've really moved into that scares the hell out of me is over the last few years, especially, we've moved into you can't tell me what to do. You can't tell me what to wear. You can't tell me what to do. Well, if you're coming to my house, and this is where I think we should kind of start to draw to a close. We've been over our 1 hour time point, and that's okay. It's been a beautiful conversation. But when I first went over to Scotland, I asked Debbie, what is the standard daily dress code for your household? What do you guys normally wear? Me, when I lived alone, I was lucky to have any clothes on at all. If you came to my house, you saw what you saw.
Yeah, more than once.
Poor Lester, bless his heart. He lived right next door to me for a while, and yeah, well, anyway.
Dude, put some clothes on.
I
But
just come up with the trailer and there was a knock on the door and John would go, wait a minute, I need to get clothes on.
well, and this is the thing. This is the whole thing. If if you're going to someone's circle, if I have been invited to attend someone else's church, yeah, she said the question confused the hell out of her. She's like, what? I'm like, well, you know, of course I explained it, and so I learned real quick that standard T-shirt and shorts were fully accepted. You know, um, okay, great, that's what I packed. Tank tops are fine. You know, but before I go into if I've been invited to someone else's religious community, I'm going to have enough respect for them to ask, what is your dress code? If it's coat and tie, count me out because I don't own a suit. If it's dress coat and nice slacks, I'm all good with that. I got that. I got a dress coat, slacks. I got a couple of button-down shirts that still fit my fat ass. But the clothing, and see, here's the thing, and it shouldn't. What I'm saying is it shouldn't. But the clothes make the person in society. Your immediate appearance, the way you present yourself, dictates the way people are going to look at you. So, what does that mean? I mean, seriously, it's not a black or white, a yes or no answer. It's an answer that have it's an answer that have cost people their families, their homes, their jobs. I've lost jobs because I'm pagan, but I couldn't go back on them because I couldn't prove that they fired me because I was pagan. Lester can tell you about the time I was arrested because I was pagan.
I got fired from a job, I think in Liberty, because I was pagan.
So, how you present yourself visually. Now, of course, if I walk into an interview and I'm a MF or that and a goddamn it that, and shit fuck out and down, during the interview, I don't pretend to think I'm going to get the job anyway. And the old saying of when in Rome, do as the Romans, it's not that far off a fact.
That's a car.
Huh?
Nothing. Never mind. I'll skip it.
Right or wrong, and like I've already said, I don't agree with it. Because I know for me personally, having been management and management material, when I interviewed people, I did not judge them on the clothes they wore, the tattoos they had, the piercings they had, how long their hair was. I looked at things like, is your hair clean? If you have a beard, is it clean? And you can look at someone's hair and tell whether or not it's clean. Are you clean? Do you stink? Because if you have enough care in yourself, right, to not stink when you present yourself to other people, and even that comes down to culture. Because if you go over to India, there is a boatload over in India that do not wear deodorant. I'm not going to finish that sentence, but anyway, case come to point. The clothes shouldn't make the people should make the clothes. Does that make any sense?
Yes.
Sadly, it doesn't. Because some of the dumbest bastards I have ever met in my life that I have worked with got their job because they dressed the part, they knew what to say, when to say it, and how to say it, and there was absolutely no reason they should have got the job. So there's no answer to the topic, and I love topics like this because there is no one answer to the topic. Your religious apparel has to fit your specific religion, and the leader of that religion will inform you of what that apparel is. If you don't like that apparel, change effing religions. Simple enough. My thought. I may be wrong in that, but that's my thought. Anybody else have anything they want to offer up? Come on.
Just learn about your, I guess, apparel. Like you said, learn about it. Ask questions, so you won't look scrutinized as you come in a circle dressed in the wrong thing or less than dressed.
Communication.
Communications.
That damn 4-letter word, communication. Actually, it's a lot more than 4 letters, but case comes to point. Communication.
I thought it was only 3 letters. Ask.
Ask. Yes. Ask. It's not going to hurt you to ask. Unless I already know someone, if I'm going over to someone's house for dinner, I'm going to ask what the dress code is for dinner. If I'm going into somebody else's house, I'm not going to disrespect their home by showing up in shorts and a tank top if they're the type of house that likes to have, I don't know, at least blue jeans and a shirt on, you know, a standard t-shirt or whatever, I'm okay respecting those wishes. And the question I have to ask for those who watch our broadcast, are you okay with respecting the wishes of others when it comes to dress codes?
Yeah, I find it funny that growing up in the Catholic Church when I was young, we had a term called wearing your Sunday best
Yep.
for the church. Well, walk into a Catholic church now, you're lucky. You're lucky if you see anybody in dress clothes.
Well, church has really relaxed over the years. I mean, I think they didn't really have a whole lot of choice but to relax the church dress code because they were losing followers because hell, suits are expensive, man. Huh?
I think that does have a lot to do with it, and then you have the progressive priest, and that look at it like, as long as they got clothes on, what does it matter,
Right, right.
Now, if you go to church in a bikini, well, that's a different story.
Well, there may be, yeah, because it's just, and you know, bikinis are distracting whether they're nice or not.
Right.
Um, so, I've always been of the firm belief, dress appropriately for the situation. And like you said, the three-letter word, ask. If I'm invited, like if Lester was going to invite me to a Catholic Mass, if Lester was going to a Catholic Mass, I would ask him, what is the dress code? And he would probably say,
Jeans and a dress shirt.
huh?
Jeans and a dress shirt.
There you go. Jeans and a dress shirt. What's wrong with a little respect? The problem is nowadays people don't have respect. And quite honestly, there is shit all any of us can do about other people's lack of respect. Honestly. Oh man, guys, we went way over time. I appreciate it. I love topics like this. Let's try to come up with some more topics for next week's program. And we'll post it on the schedule for sure. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you, Cindy, for the topic. Thank you guys for joining. And as always, we will see you next time here on Open Pagan Church.